Welcome to the chapters. Actually, it's sort of two chapters, and we're going to look at 4 religions. So it's actually a pretty busy couple chapters. But we're going to look at Sikhism and either Jainism or Jainism, depending upon who's pronouncing it, and then Taoism and Confucianism. Now, Sikhism and Jainism are both religions largely that occur in India, although that there's a little bit of variation on that. And then Taoism and Confucianism are probably a little bit more related to China. I think the key to these religions is, for example, with Taoism and Confucianism, those are pretty widespread and pretty powerful religions in China. Sikhism and Jainism, on the other hand, are religions that, while they're not huge religions, I would say, 5%, 10% of the population is Sikh, or maybe not even that much, 4%, 3%, or Jainism is the similar thing. You're not talking about a huge part of the Indian population or Asian population that adhere to these religions. But what happens is they're actually very influential religions. And so that's part of why we look at them. Gandhi was thought to be a Jain, or he was from that tradition, and or a Jain. And there's also Sikhs are pretty well regarded as a fairly influential, wealthy set of adherents, and so they have had a lot of influence on political and social life. Now, the key here is, and this is sort of a key idea, is some of these religions, although we're going to be studying them and they are different religions, a lot of people in the East and Asia don't make a distinction like we do. Like, if you are in the United States, we tend to say, like, if you're a Christian, or you're a Muslim, or you're a Jew, but usually you don't go like, well, I'm all three. I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew. Or I'm a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Christian. Here in the West, we tend to believe that, these are one or the other. But at least within the Eastern tradition, the idea is that, you can be a member of more than one religion. You can practice the practices of these different philosophies, depending upon what you're doing, depending upon your stage of life, depending upon a lot of things. So for the Easterners, for the Chinese, there's often the concept that you're a Confucian in your government, or your daily, or your social, the life of the state, the life of business, that you're a Taoist in your personal life, and that you're a Buddhist at death. That as you begin to take stock of your life, as you begin to meditate, and you begin to think about things, you focus in on Buddhism. And so the idea here is for them, they would have no concept that it was contradictory or anything. We as Westerners, we sort of follow a law of non-contradiction, a rule that if you are one thing, then you can't be another, and that just doesn't exist in those societies. Now, I guess one thing to think about is, and I believe maybe we've already used this example, but I'm not sure I have used it, but in the Hindu tradition, there's this concept that it's a story that's been given before, that about this man, a blind man, who goes and sees an elephant. He doesn't see the elephant. He goes and he's led to an elephant, and he's told, this is an elephant. And he is then handed, a different part of the elephant. There are 3 blind men. I guess my story's probably should have said this originally. There are 3 blind men, and all of them are shown an elephant. And the first one is taken to his trunk, his nose, and he feels it, and he sort of feels it and sees what it is, touches the end, realizes, he says, this is like a big old hose, like a fire hose. And that's what an elephant is it's like a big fire hose. And then the next one's sent to his tail, and he feels, and he says, it's like a little rope. It's like a snake. And the third one is taken to one of the legs, and he says, what is the elephant? And he says he feels it, and all he knows is the leg, and he says, you know, this is like a tree. It's you know, like the trunk of a tree. And so they all three have felt the same elephant, but they all three have had a very different experience of what the elephant is. And the idea is we as humans on this earth are all blind. We do not get to see the divine. And all we are is we are blind men who are given one part of God, one part of the divine, one part of something greater. And so when we come to it as a blind person, as a person limited in our physical reality to what we see, some of us will feel the tail and think that, you know, God is like this. And some will feel the trunk and they will think God is like this. They're all describing the same elephant. They're all experiencing the same elephant. We're all experiencing the same God. It is just that some of us experience it differently. Some of us experience a different part of it. And so for the Easterners, that idea that you could be a Buddhist, and you could be a Hindu, and you could be a Taoist, and you could be a Jainist, and you could be a Sikh, and a Sikh, and you could be a a Confucianist. That all of those are perfectly acceptable because we're each feeling a different part of the concept of God. They are each describing a different concept. And so when you experience one, you're not contradicting the other, even though they may think that it is a snake and the other one may think it's a fire hose. And while one may think it's a tree, that even though they all think of it as something different, they're all touching, they're all feeling, they're all experiencing the same God, and they're all explaining God. And so you can practice each, and you will feel, experience, and touch a different part of God.